Hello people and welcome back to Nico Appreciates Midnight Club 2. We are now in Paris. Let's follow blog then, shall we? Can't even remember what we talked about last time, but we don't have to continue our discussion where we left off. We can always come up with new shit. So Paris is probably the region that is gonna give us more trouble, especially couple races I can recall, but for the most part we should be okay. Now Paris is where the soundtrack gets hell of a lot better, and Tokyo as well. Los Angeles is kinda on the downer side, but there's some gems there as well, such as Dice's team. But now we have to put some of the skills we've learned into use and start doing little wheelies like that. Well, that was perfect. Good time to practice when we're following blog here. It's a fun skill to have. Of course, you should not turn while you're doing that, otherwise you'll just flip your car. And in Tokyo, pretty much that skill becomes useless, because everything is so fast. Anyway, I thought, because I was discussing with Tom earlier, sharing some, quote, ghost stories, end quote. I'm a skeptic myself, always been and probably always will be, but there has been some stuff which is quite peculiar. And you could always put those kind of experiences under the line of, well, maybe you're hallucinating, maybe you're tired, you're just seeing shit. I understand, maybe that's the way things are. But I'll share you one story after this.
Look at this, Ponce. Having a laugh, is he? Welcome to Frogville, my son. You up for a little drive?
And by one story, I mean multiple. But one story in particular that always raised eyebrows. Not just for me, but also my wife. So I'll tell you that one last, because that's one of the more peculiar stories, and one that I never could explain. There was one instance in a cottage, because that's what the Finnish do. We go to a cottage and we spend some time there, we fish, we sit around in the sun and enjoy the woods. That's all fine and dandy. I remember well, this time my wife wasn't there. I'm not even sure if I had met her yet at that point, but I was in the cottage, getting ready for bed. Everything was fine and normal until that point. I went to bed like normal, I closed my eyes and I was ready to fall asleep, and I felt like someone was tugging the blanket. Now, needless to say, there was nobody there, because I was sleeping alone downstairs. And you know the feeling when your blanket is kind of drooping from the edge of your bed, from the side where your legs are, so you can kind of tell that somebody's tugging it, or if it's actually like drooping off from the side. So usually you just kick it with your legs and you get the blanket back up on the bed. So that's usual, right? But this time it was like somebody was really tugging it. I was annoyed, because I thought, oh god, because I thought the blanket was really having a fight with me. It got personal, but I was like, alright, so now the blanket is up on the bed. I got the blanket kicked back up there. Everything is fine. So a moment passes and literally the side, well, the corner of the blanket, I think we got this, and there we go. The corner of the blanket, well, I'll continue the story once blog continues his.
What a mug. Bleeding yank, all the same. Come on, my son. Think you're something special.
So literally the corner of the blanket lifted up. Forcefully, mind you, it wasn't like it gently just lifted up. Literally the whole corner of the blanket formed a triangle and it just lifted up from my legs. I was more annoyed than anything else. I didn't really pay attention to that much. I was like, okay, shit happens, I guess. I've never seen something like this, but now I have. Oh, that sucked. So that's one instance where I was kind of like, how does this happen? How can I explain this in any meaningful way? How can somebody explain this occurrence to me in such a way that it would make actual sense? And I just came to the conclusion that I can't. And I just left it at that. I just fell asleep after that, quite fast actually, and I don't think anything else happened that night because I was asleep. Maybe something happened, maybe it didn't, but it's kind of a surreal feeling that the blanket just lifts from the top of your legs without you doing something about it, and needless to say, nobody was in the room. So that's one minor thing that I've had happen when it comes to supernatural things. And I'm still skeptic. I think there still has to be some way for me to explain that. Some way... Like, okay, a draft can't make that happen. There's no wind inside the cottage. No windows were open, so... There's something that maybe people can cipher from that. Maybe people can come up with an explanation. But for me, that's pretty ludicrous. I can't explain it. I remember my mother's house and, well, my parents' house in general. Something was going on in there when I was still living there. Specifically upstairs. There was... or there were footsteps. And it is strange because they were so clear. Clear as day. Let's say the whole family was downstairs, everyone could hear them. And you know, when you live in a house long enough, you start to understand how every creak and every crack and every subtle sound sounds like. You start to understand how to make them happen with your own feet. And that's exactly how they sounded like. It literally sounded like somebody was upstairs making the sounds on purpose. And every stair that leads upstairs makes a different kind of creak. And I got used to it. And I'm lost. Okay, here we go. So every stair made a different kind of creak and a different kind of noise. And I just learned every noise that every stair makes individually. I knew if somebody was coming upstairs and I was upstairs, I knew how close they were to my location just by listening to the creaks. And these creaks were also happening without nobody ever climbing the stairs. So that was a bit strange. Oh shit, that's not the door. It is this one. Don't tell me I'm gonna fucking lose this. Nope, the other AI crashed. Okay. Let's continue the story after this. Really wanna hear these monologues from the characters.
A new car? Last thing I need. Nice one, Squire. Take the motor then.
Take the motor then. I love that. But let's change the color. Gunmetal, probably best one. But as my room was upstairs, it was easy for me to hear the sounds that came from the stairs. It was easy for me to hear all kind of sounds. So if somebody was actually coming upstairs, let's say my mother was coming upstairs, I could already tell they are doing that. Sometimes they would go to the... So let me paint a picture first. So our upstairs in my parents' house had my room, which was fairly large, and then there was kind of a lobby in the middle and a toilet. And then there was another room after that. Kind of a similar size to mine. And that room was empty, kind of like a guest room. There was never nobody there. And sometimes my mother would clean up stuff in the house or around the house, and she would come upstairs, bring some stuff to that room and take some stuff out there and bring it back down, and that was a common occurrence, and I was always like, that's... Well, anyway, let's listen to this again.
This one looks like it can really get me fired up. We will try not to embarrass you right away, Mr. Yankee.
But as time went on, these footsteps up that supposedly I thought my mother was making those sounds, I sometimes greeted her. Like, okay, hello. So that's something I did as a kid. I greeted my mother when she came upstairs to do assorted stuff. Sometimes she would not answer. I would be like, okay, maybe she's busy or something. Maybe I'll stop greeting her or something like that. That's what I thought. I was like, I don't know, 14, 15, something like that. And it kind of started to perplex me. Why doesn't she always answer? So that's when I began to understand that sometimes the footsteps were there on the stairs, but nobody actually came upstairs. That's the moment when holy fuck, that's the moment when I started to realize that, okay, maybe there's something else going on then.
I like that. This boy knows how to drive a woman crazy.
On y va. Let's just race.
Super amusant! You have another one in you?
And this something else that was going on was in fact footsteps that came upstairs. I could still tell each and individual creak from each of those stairs because I memorized them. I know what each of those stairs sounded like. And they still made the same sound even if nobody came upstairs, and that's what perplexed me. So the footsteps would continue in the room next to mine. Well, there's a toilet in the middle, but I could still hear because the floor also made noise. There was one spot specifically in the floor right after you get in the room that made a lot of creaking sounds, and I sometimes I like to manipulate that part with my feet. I always like to stand there and switch the pressure on my legs from right to left, back to right and back to left to make that spot creak. And I knew what that sounded like, and sometimes I could hear that sound in that empty room when I was still in my own room. That I cannot explain. You could say, well, maybe it's just the wood of the house, like it's living its own life. When temperature changes and whatnot, you hear all kind of different things. But those are usually just subtle pops and cracks. Like, I can tell the difference between that and something that's literally walking in the next room. So I started thinking, okay, there's something going on I can't explain. It's still a skeptic at this point. I was just a kid, but I was already a skeptic. I could not believe these sounds. And sometimes they were so loud, I just kept wondering what the hell was happening in there. I still can't explain that.
This boy made me lose my cool. I must stop all this flirting. Come on, take the cars and go.
So at some point I started to deliberately going to the next room, the empty room, to check on it. To check if somebody is actually coming upstairs or not, and most of the time nobody was coming upstairs. Sometimes I would call my mother by her name or just say hello, no response, and I go check, and sure enough, nobody's there. Now you could say that, okay, maybe you're hallucinating, it's in your mind, you're going crazy. That's the thing, everyone heard those voices there, everyone. Including my wife. When we visit there, we sometimes still hear the creaks and cracks and whatever. It is perplexing, to say the least. I still think there has to be an explanation to that, but you could actually hear voices as well. I did leave a recorder there once overnight, and it did capture the stairs creaking and the floor creaking at times in different spots. But it also captured someone... okay, come on. Where are you going? It also captured a single voice. In Finnish, it said pretty much, water, I need water. That was like, So now I'm recording voices in that very room. I'm still a skeptic. I still think that has to have something to do with something hitting the mic on the recorder. It can't... You can't just go and record human voice when there's nobody there. I enjoy watching those ghost shows, like the Ghost Hunters and stuff. Well, I used to watch those. Still a skeptic though. Those are... I think they are just made up. They have to be, and some of the stuff that they find is just planted there. But it's still fascinating stuff. And I don't think that it was ever a voice that I got recorded in that room. It has to be something else that sounds like a voice. Because that's ridiculous. But nonetheless, voices could be heard there, creaks, cracks, footsteps, all that. Still going on. You could say maybe it's a squirrel up in the attic, but there's nothing there. It's pretty clean attic. All things considered, there's nothing there making noise. And you could certainly pinpoint the different sounds to the stairs and the different parts of that one room that was empty. And all of this started, and that's... It is perplexing. I cannot tell you what makes sense there and what doesn't.
You think you know how to drive a Vette? Andiamo, andiamo! Prego! I don't have a time to waste!
But that's nothing compared to the one thing that I have experienced what comes to ghost stories and whatnot. That's calm stuff. That's stuff that could happen in that's stuff that could happen in any house. I'm gonna follow this motherfucker. At least I think. I still don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in supernatural stuff. I don't believe that the dead people come haunt us. That's not something I believe. I don't believe that the dead come live with us. Granted, some of this stuff happened right after some family members died. Maybe there's something to it, but I just don't think... I don't believe in that sort of stuff. But it's interesting to think about. Sometimes I've heard the story from someone else. This is not something I witnessed. But a book has come out of the shelf, opened a specific page that had a specific message. Strange stuff. Coincidental, probably, but still fun to think that stuff like that can happen in a shelf that's well mounted. The books are well put together in the shelf. Nothing really loose, and just one book comes flying out of the shelf. It's fun stuff. Still, there has to be an explanation for each occurrence. And people who capture ghosts, it's always like this blurry motherfucking image, as you can't tell what's going on, so usually it's photoshopped or something. Why can't anyone get a clear picture of this supposedly supernatural stuff? It's always some blurry motherfuck. You can't tell what's going on. Makes you think, right? Not really. But I do have something that kind of upset me, and it also kind of upset my wife, because we both experienced it at the same exact time. But I'll tell you about it after this. I can't believe we're just winning all of these. Still have this game in my memory.
New car! 9 probabilità! Comes to this! Ora di tempo di iniziare la corsa!
I don't know that language. Okay, so back when I used to live alone in 2010, it was just before I met my future wife that I have right now. So she would come over every weekend. Basically, she almost started to live there with me. Nothing had previously been strange about that apartment, but the landlord told me that I think he said his mother or grandmother died in that apartment. The landlord was like 80 years old to begin with, so that's probably a long time ago when that happened. I was like, okay, that doesn't bother me, I'm just gonna... The place is nice, I'm just gonna be here and mind my own business. Doesn't bother me too much if people die in apartments or houses or whatever, it's just circle of life. Unless it's literally like a murder scene, then maybe I'll consider again. But it sounded to me like this was a calm passing, and that didn't really bother me, but it gave me some food for thought when my wife started to come over and spend some time there with me. So the first, I think, in the first couple of weeks that she was over... Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on the track at the same time. First couple of weeks... Shit. She was over... In the middle of the night she went to get some air. We had... Or I had a balcony there, so you just go in there and... it was actually street level. Had a yard, like a backyard, that everyone shared in that complex. So she went to the balcony, and I was still sleeping. Then at some point I wake up to somebody knocking on glass. It was actually... I think I messed up something. Nope, I'm good. It was actually my wife knocking on the glass outside from the balcony. That's not all though. Hear this again.
Questo come possibile? Something is not right. I tell you now, amico mio.
So somehow the balcony door locked itself. And that was one of those heavy-duty locks. You really had to turn it to lock the door. Really, it needed some pressure. I had some people over at some point and they could not even lock the door. It was so tight. So hard to turn. But eventually I learned the trick to it and I got it unlocked and locked at my will. It needed some force, needed some strength as well. So somehow the door locked itself when my wife was in the balcony. Oh shit, now we have to... Oh well. That's not a big deal. But somehow the door just locked itself. And I had to free my wife from the balcony. That is the first thing that was kind of like, okay, how the hell does that even happen? And I think she said that the door was like lightly open, it was not closed. Why would she close the door behind her? But that was strange, okay, I'll take that, it's strange. But it can happen, I suppose. Maybe the wind just got the door and shut it and somehow the lock engaged. That is possible, it's all possible. Maybe the lock just malfunctioned somehow, I don't know. That's not something I would put under supernatural, that's just something that could happen, I suppose. By just some sheer luck and circumstances. This is one of my favorite races in the game, Stefan here. Has one of the best music as well. I like listening to it. Extra Try is what this track is called. If you wanna search for it. This is probably the race where I'll fuck up the first time because I can't remember where to go. But we are actually going to concentrate on this race particularly because it's a hard race. After we're done with that, after we are done with that though, I'll tell you the weirdest thing that has ever happened to me and my wife what comes to supernatural stuff. Something that I shared in our Discord as well. If you wanna come chat with us, it's in the description. Well, let's hear Stefan first.
Oh, c'est pas vrai. La ville de Paris is not big enough for the two of us.
French fucker. This is one of the hardest races in the game still. Let's see then. I really have to concentrate on this one. Since I'm reading the map, because I wanna do this right the first time. Because I always do this wrong. So if you go from below, we should be able to do a little S motion in the map. And then hit the finish line. So if you go down with that one fellow, we should be able to do a little zigzag and that way be done with it. So I just wanted to check that out, because this is one of the races that I always forget. So if we go right, I think we have a better chance. Go down here. Okay, so the other AI is also coming here. I was just wondering where he went. He picked the other lane. On the other side, I guess that's the reason. So let's see how well we can manage this. Really one of the hardest races in the game. Of course, some of the Tokyo stuff is ridiculous. But for Paris, Stefan's races are one of the harder ones. In my opinion anyway. Because you really have to know each and every shortcut as well if you want to make it. First let's go around like this and turn. Man, hard not to crash into everything. I'm just concentrating on everything right now. Don't have the fastest car imaginable, but we should have it. Our position says 6 out of 7, that kind of worries me, but the AI could get stuck somewhere, and that's usually how it's gonna play out if we wanna win this. Really, you can't concentrate on anything else but this race, and the map can't really tell stories while doing this. Okay, I think this is the route I always took, so go through this glass here to win some time. Go through the little maze thing here, which I always suck. This car really sucks at handling. I'm not sure why I picked this one. Just to turn, you just crash into buildings. Because the turning is so bad. We should be able to win this, unless something catastrophic happens. Go up here. This is the best route, I think. But it's kind of like, whoever you go with, the others in the race actually always tend to win. So now we merged with these guys. Let's see how this goes. Quite a fascinating game actually when you think about it. You just merge with the AI in different spots. We are barely first. And shit. That's not good. That's even worse. Okay, he crashed as well. He crashed and I crashed. It's just a chain reaction sometimes of crashes. Oh my, we just lost. Well, I think that is still the route to take. I think that is still what we need to do. Let's do that again. Do we need to change the vehicle? I think we should take the maybe the Bryanston. Purple, of course. This should be better. Let's see then. So take the same route. Now I can concentrate on the actual story because I remember the stage. So we were ready to get and go to sleep with my wife, and this is still the same apartment I'm talking about here. And we were both sitting on the bed, nearly ready to start sleeping. And the apartment was a 35 square feet apartment, not too big, but big enough for one person. It was doable for two as well, but it was not the greatest thing in the world. And if we lied on the bed, we could still see into the kitchen. The kitchen door was there. So basically the bed I located in the living room, and the only room that I had. So from the bed you could actually see most of the apartment. So we could clearly see into the kitchen. At some point I kinda like gasped and I stopped talking. We were talking about something. Well, both of us stopped talking at the same time. We both immediately stopped talking. And both of us, I could tell, both of us were looking in the kitchen door specifically. There was no door there, but just the opening. And I told my, well, girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now, I told her, or I asked her, did she see what I saw? And when she said yes, I got the biggest goosebumps I've ever had in my life. The hair on my arms and neck just stood up. It was an experience like no other. So we started describing what we saw to each other, and sure enough, without telling each other too much information at once, we were able to piece out the same thing. We saw the exact same thing at the exact same time. And that's why we both stopped talking. So I'll tell you what we saw after this race. Hopefully we can do this. That's why I saved the boost. Oh, come on. They're trying to mess me up at the last stretch. Okay, there we go. Fuck you, Stefan. French bastard.
It is no matter to me, imbécile. Okay, man, I race you for a hamburger.
Well, what we saw was a person dressed in all white. White trousers, white suit, white tie, white hat. A large fucking hat. Oh shit, okay. The hat was so big that you could only see his nose and mouth. So you could not see his eyes. And he was standing there. Like just normally, standing there like... Well, he had a good pose, I suppose. He had good posture. I can't remember if he had a cane or not. This is, certainly was a man. Got a rugged face. Rugged expression on his face. Certainly a man of style. He was just standing there in the kitchen door. And he just looked at us. Didn't move. Nothing. No movement. And he was probably there for, I don't know, 5 seconds maybe, and then just vanished into thin air. I can't remember if there was a dust cloud or something, but just vanished. I think it was one of those cases where if you blink, they're gone. And if I saw that when I was alone, I would have been like, okay, my mind is playing tricks. It's just something that I thought was there and it really wasn't. But when my wife said that she saw the same thing and described the same exact features, that's when we lost it. We were... Well, I can't say we were panicking, we were just wondering what the hell happened. And still, I remember that guy, clear as day. Whether he had something to do with this individual that passed in this apartment or not, I can't say. That is the most supernatural thing that has ever happened to me, and the most strange one. To see something with another human being at the same time, and to be able to describe what they look like in such detail to each other at the same time, is something that I thought I could never experience. Because I'm still a skeptic, remember, I still think there has to be an explanation. Some light or something hits something in a very strange way. Of course, you can't always get away with facts. You can't always get away with saying stuff like that. a light cannot form a human being so clearly. Lights cannot hit each other in that way. It's strange. That race was a bit easier. So that is the most peculiar thing that has ever happened to me or us.
I cannot believe this. J'ai perdu mon auto. I will not call on any women for at least a week. No matter, American, I will always have more women than you.
Sure thing, baby. Anyway, I think that's enough for... Or enough of... Oh no, I do have one more thing. This goes back to the parents' house. I forgot to tell you one thing about it. So I used to change my setup quite a bit there, cause, well, I was a kid and I got bored. So sometimes my table would be against another wall and sometimes it would be against another. This time I had set up my table in such a way where my back was facing my door. I usually never had my door closed, I had it open. And I had a CRT television, actually, in the corner facing me, but it was in an angle so that I could watch TV at the same time when I'm on my PC. But it was in an angle so that it would face the door of my room so I could see the opening. It would also face one window, so the reflection was real sometimes when, especially in the summer, you could see part of the window in the CRT television as well. Because the CRT televisions weren't just all black. When the TV was off, it was actually more like grey, light grey or something like that, because it was an actual curved screen. So that's what I had in the corner of my room, and I could tell when somebody came upstairs and went to the other room, because I could see the reflection. Because I could see the reflection on my television, so I know someone was behind me. But there were multiple occurrences where the television screen would completely cover and shade to black, even though nobody was behind me. Sometimes it was accompanied with these footsteps and noises and creaks that would come from the other room, and sometimes just not. I remember one time specifically when I kind of jumped, because I was just on my computer normally, and suddenly the whole... Well, I'll continue the story after this.
Some yank think he can race. Right bloody laugh this is going to be. Alright mate, you ready to let go of the anchors?
And at some point the... Oh, by the way, this has also some of the best music bits in the whole game. I wanna hear this. Oh no, this is the worst one. So the next race, it's one of my favorites. Musics from this game. Well, anyway, this is not bad either, but one occurrence, especially the screen of the television would go entirely black. Like I saw somebody walk behind me, but only through that reflection of the television. I looked back, nobody there, but the reflection on the television completely disappeared. It went completely black, blocking the window. It went completely black and blocking my door entrance. So that is something that always bothered me a little bit, because it used to happen more and more, and I never really lost my mind about it. I was like, well, this is normal in this house, and I expect it. It's nothing too weird, because it just happens all the time. But to see the reflection completely go off of your television and it just goes black and you see somebody moving, somebody specifically came from the door entrance of my room and kept walking behind me, and I saw that. Such an uneasy feeling when you experience something like that. Again, all of those experiences that I've experienced on my own could be put on my mental health, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I was hallucinating, but the stuff that I talk about where other people has seen stuff as well, that I cannot explain. and the people in that house still, they know the stuff is going on, and it can be heard frequently. My mother especially has said she's heard some noise and seen apparitions or some shit outside as well, like white and black clouds at the corner of her eye. It is strange. And recently, in this apartment, this is built in 2013. This I have to put on my mental instability, this one. But I'll tell you about it after this. We're just winning all of this. Still have my memory. What comes to this game?
This bloke put that race in the bag. No worries, he doesn't have enough for the next one. Go on, mate, give it heaps.
This, I'm gonna let you listen to the music for a bit. Alright. So... oh right, this guy has 3 races. So... basically... I was... I can't remember what I was playing. I was playing something on my computer late at night, probably 4 AM or something. Because my sleep schedules always goes haywire. I think I know why now. I'll explain it after this, but... when I was concentrating on the game quite hard, I was kind of leaning forward. It's probably Far Cry or something. And I felt, clear as day, someone touching my left shoulder. Not even forcefully, but just laying their hand slowly on my left shoulder while I was playing. I immediately looked back because I thought my wife woke up or something. She was sleeping in the next room, but no, nobody there. I did stop playing because that was quite uneasy. I remember saying something like, okay, you can stop fucking around. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe it has to do with my mental health, maybe not. Hallucinations or something, I don't know. Medication can do that sometimes. But I've never had that experience before, where I can feel it clear as day. Someone touching my shoulder, and I could feel the different fingers as well. It's not just an object. I could feel the 5 different separate fingers just slowly touching my shoulder. That was one of those things that made me a bit uneasy, but I've kinda grown to understand those things when they just keep happening from time to time. But that was the first time I've ever felt anyone touch me on my shoulder like that, and still nobody there. So don't know how to explain that one either. I would have brushed it off if it was something just if it felt like it was some object or gust of air or something just slightly tapping my shoulder or something, but to actually feel the separate fingers slowly touching your shoulder one by one and just stay there, it's kind of an uneasy feeling. Don't know about that one. But about my sleep rhythm though, I think this will be interesting. So I've had sleeping problems for 2 years now. There was a time, maybe in the span of a year, where I could not sleep at all. I would just lay in bed for 15 hours a day and I could not fall asleep. That was one of the hardest things in my life so far, not being able to sleep, and I'm dead tired. Doctors did draw blood off me, like 20 bottles. Never really figured out what was the cause of that, but it has changed a bit, and I'll tell you about it after this one.
Earthy on this bloke seems true blue. Time to change over to the motorcycle. Have the car, it's crap. But I'm a dead cert off the bike, mate. You are an absolute joke.
Yeah, and Ian's soundtrack is amazing in this game. Really an art form. Good music is just fucking good. I love house music. She's so good. Makes you pumped up for the races as well. I'm listening to it now, but my sleep rhythm, like I was telling you about, not being able to fall asleep. I went over 50 possible causes probably trying to figure out what's wrong with me. Never kinda figured it out. I started taking B12 and D vitamins, and I think that kinda helped, but not fully. And now it's the complete opposite. Now I sleep too much. I can sleep for 10 hours straight, be awake for 2 hours and then sleep another 10. Now I sleep too much. And I've even slept 15 hours and 17 hours straight. So something is definitely wrong. But I just can't pinpoint what, and I'm so tired sometimes that I can't even think about anything, let alone make dinner or anything else. I'm just so tired. Laundry and stuff, it's tough work when you're completely exhausted. Damn, I tried to knock that guy off his bike. But so something's going on, definitely can't tell what it is. Hopefully it gets better somehow. Don't know what's up with that. Oh shit. But I think I found one reason to my sleep problems. I think it was called something like 24-hour syndrome or something. You can check it out if you want. So I've had this... Son of a bitch. So I've had this problem as long as I can remember. Back when I was 15, back when I was 13, something like that. I've always had this problem where my sleep schedule switches every day. So it postpones itself. So that's why I had problems going to school. That's why I had problems doing all kinds of stuff that demanded for the same hours every day, demanded schedules. That was a big problem for me. And it's not something that people understand. So according to this syndrome, because I have not found any other reason to this, because it has always been part of my life. That looked like I could go through that. But the gist of the 24-hour syndrome is that every day your sleep schedule postpones by 2 hours. Did I go the wrong way? No. So I'll explain more about it after this one.
I'm pulling the stumps on racing for a bit, I reckon. Time to focus on finding a nice Sheila. No uckin' forries, mate. Enjoy the vehicles.
Oh no, I'm not gonna use the bike. There's no way. I like the Allard, or Allardy, whatever the hell it's called, Allard. But so the gist of that syndrome is that every day, approximately, your sleep schedule will postpone by 2 hours. So if I go to bed at 11 PM now, and let's say I wake up at 10 AM, then that day I might go to sleep 2 hours later because I don't feel sleepy, so I'll go to bed at 1 AM. Then I wake up at 11 AM, then I go to bed at 3 AM, and so on. Because I have tried to keep the rhythm as it is, but I just can't. I don't feel sleepy. I don't feel like I can sleep. Sometimes I force myself. I'm just gonna go to bed, and I'll force myself to actually try and sleep. It doesn't work. And then I postpone it even more because I'm just lying there. And then I eventually have to get up. So the sleep schedules are really a problem to me. I can't keep a schedule, so for the most part of my life, my sleep, like the rhythm, always goes everywhere, so at some point of the week I might be awake during the night and sleep during the day, and then at some point I might be awake during the day and sleep over the night. Because it always circles around at 2 hours, so eventually it's gonna go around the clock, the rhythm. It's just nothing I can do about it. It just keeps going and going until the rhythm is the complete opposite. It's gonna take probably 2 weeks to, well, let's say fix itself, but even if I fix it, it's gonna go haywire again. Even if I'm able to wake up at 8 AM, well, it's just gonna get postponed by 2 hours that day, and then 2 hours, and then 2 hours, and then I'm reversed again. So that's really a problem to me. Really annoying, and I don't know how to fix it. Don't think there's anything to fix.
He looks too young to be a cop. I will give him the honor of racing an internationally renowned fugitive.
I have to keep a low profile. We race in the catacombs.
Talk about racism. That's not even the worst thing he'll say. He goes on about how the Americans are stupid and how he has stolen something and the CIA or something is after him. Then we have to raise the CIA agent. It's really fucking strange. Of course they would put something like this in a game that's already quite well, it's kind of strange. You have all of these characters that have deep accents, deep stereotypical accents, and they come from certain parts of the world where you'd expect that. This game was also, by the way, made by Rockstar, the same company that made GTA games, so I'm really not too surprised there. But the reason why I don't like Midnight Club 3 is that they took the characters out. They still have the names, but they don't say anything. They don't appear in any way. Maybe they just didn't like the way it turned out or something, but that's one of the big reasons why I like the game, is the characters and their introductions. It gives them soul. It gives you enough reason to beat them. That's the reason why I like Midnight Club 2 over 3. It has more soul. It's more interesting as a game. These races against Farid are kinda easy, I say as I collide in the wall. But he's so slow, and because we race in the catacombs, there's so much to crash into there, the AI just can't handle it. Not the best thing they did. These races are kinda boring in Paris. But this is the last one, I think, before the champion, so we have made some stellar progress here. But that's all I can tell you about the sleep rhythm problem, which I've always had. I tried melatonin and stuff like that, it just doesn't work, it doesn't work. I've tried all kind of things, really. And I even drink decaf coffee, because I have to. Actually, that'll be an interesting topic, I'll tell you about it.
He's lucky I don't steal everything he has right from underneath his big fat American nose. Hey! I won't kill you! Yet!
Okay. So I had to switch to decaf, because for 2 years I could not figure out what was causing the heart palpitations that I always had. I felt like my heart was coming out of my chest. And went to all kinds of doctor visits, and they checked the heart and everything was normal there, and took the ECG, or what it's called, where you check the heart's condition and stuff like that. Just never figured it out, but I figured it out myself. It was actually the caffeine in coffee, caused by my medication.
It will be a work of genius. I give him my automobile, and the inspector will be busy trying to pinch him. Enjoy the car!
So now he has planted some drugs into that car or something, and now we are being chased by the CIA. AKA James Bond. Interesting. We just have to beat this guy. But for some reason, was caused by coffee. I have no idea how. One of my allergy medicines does say... Shit. Does say that it could cause weird effects with caffeine products, or it could affect your brain and stuff like that. So that's where I gathered that one of the allergy medicines that I take causes that problem with coffee and my heart. It's really a horrible feeling to have, and the doctor did explain it to me. It was basically the way it works. The blood pools in my heart, and then it just doesn't pump it off fast enough. Then it just pools there, and then it suddenly starts going again, and it pulls it off with more pressure. It's nothing to be scared about. It's nothing that is gonna affect how it works. That's just how it works. It's interesting. I haven't had those problems since I dropped caffeine. I do like drinking the decaf, because I can't just get rid of coffee. It's something I like so much. But caffeinated coffee, really a problem. If I drink a cup in the morning, well, in the evening I'm gonna have heart palpitations and I'm gonna curse about it again. Really always makes... It's not like... It's not even subtle, it's pretty bad. Makes me gasping for air and I have to stop what I'm doing. Feels like I'm dying, but in reality it's not that. At least that's what I've been told. It's good to hear, at least. But for the tiredness problems, I have no such clues. Maybe I should go to sleep studies or something and check if I'm getting an avid sleep during the night. Maybe it's some of it's is caused by the braces I'm wearing, because it kind of makes you tired. I have the plastic type where you can take them out and eat, but you can only drink water with them in, so it's kind of like, well, that messes with you. Luckily I'm almost done with them, so I'm gonna have the braces off pretty soon. I hope that helps the issue there. Oh Jesus, there we go. That was fine.
This has worked perfectly. Don't get into some trouble. It's very dangerous out.
Really? I'm not touching that with a stick.
Seems like usual young men, all bravado and nothing to show for it. Bonjour, chérie! You wanna go for a drive?
I'm really making this look easier than it actually is. This game is one of the hardest racing games I've ever played. But once you memorize the races, once you memorize the checkpoints, it's a lot easier. But I remember being stuck at Dice, the champion of Los Angeles, for like weeks on end, because the second race was so hard. But once you learn them, once you memorize them, and keep in mind, I played this game almost every year of my life. I played this so much, it's not even funny. It's so fun to come back to this every now and then. Holy fuck. That'll work. It's so fun to come back to it. Such a good game. And I'm sad to tell you, but it was pulled from the Steam store. Guess it's something to do with the music and the copyrights or something. But if you can find this on eBay or something for the PC, then I would certainly get it. I think the PC port is the better one. I'm not exactly sure, but it looks hell of a lot better than the console version. So for that reason I would pick the PC version. I used to have a Xeon processor and it didn't work quite right on that one. Had multiple issues with it. But with my new PC here it seems to work fine, so keep that in mind, that it might not work on your PC. Just mileage may vary. It's such an old game. 2003. Was built for the PCs at the time. But it's good that it still works on most systems anyway, and still scales the resolution correctly. Still goes up to 2K at least on my system here. I am thinking about buying a 4K monitor, but when is the limit gonna affect us? When is it too much? Because I think on a 4K monitor you have to zoom in a bit in Windows, increase the scaling, and that's gonna mess up some programs. So I'm not sure if 4K is already too much. 2K is good for editing and stuff, and I imagine 4K is even better with that. 1080 is starting to be a bit on the old side. I'm running most of my games now with 2K and everything maxed. Really an experience. 4K, I'm not sure how that's gonna work. It's like fucking billion times the pixels. More work on your graphics card. Are we gonna blow up? And if so, where? Still have 1 hit point, I guess. Yeah, I guess the bar does go to full, because it'll start flashing. I hope we don't fucking... oh! Die. That'll cost us the race. Let's go through here, actually. See if this pays off. Gotta be on the side of the road there, because otherwise you're just gonna crash into the traffic. Okay, that was lucky. See if we can still make it. This is one of the hardest races as well. Yep, I remember that. You can actually just go completely by that and not beat the game or the race.
I was crowned the Belle de l'année. Any man in the world used to be mine. Abruti! You are not even close to being good enough!
Hate these fog races, can't see anything. This is the last race, I think. Yeah, it is the last race for this episode. Then we are gonna hit up Tokyo, which is the last one. That episode is probably gonna be longer because the races are so difficult, but we've done an amazing job here. Let's see if we can still beat this. I don't like restarting races just because of one fuck up. Maybe the AI will fuck up too. Also, something to keep in mind if you're playing this. If you're first and you crash into something, the AI usually crashes at the same spot too, because there's traffic now lying on the road. They're not good at avoiding that. So you don't lose your mind if you crash and you're first. Most likely the AI will crash as well. I think this is clear, yep. I'm not sure why they don't take that shortcut there. Maybe the programmers were thinking about possible crashes there. Really have to pay attention here. Some races I just have to pay attention, there's no other way around this. Can't tell stories while doing this. Here's the first guy. We actually did overtake them all. Nice placement. I'm not sure if that was there just to hit us or if that was there by just chance. But in any case, nice placement. And now we start to crash into them because we share the same road. I do really like the placements here. Gotta be careful there not to drop in the water. But I like how the checkpoints are done in this game. Every race feels like it's in its own thing. And sometimes they share the same streets that you already raced in. So they are familiar to you, and I just like what the game does. Easy to understand, hard to master. We're doing exceptionally well though. They are so far behind, I'm not sure they can catch anymore unless I just crash. Let's hope that doesn't happen. I remember this. I usually save my boosts, so when I crash I'll just use them. It's a good time to use a boost when you crash, because you lose all of your momentum. Well, that's something I forgot apparently. think I lost some time now, but that's okay. Let's see. I think we're almost... Yep, there we go. There's the exit. Or the finish line. Yep, I remember this. And we're done. Done with Paris. That was fun. I'll catch you next time when we hit up Tokyo. See if we got more stories. Till then, catch you next time.
I used to be better than this kind of trash. I hope you lose your control and sink this car in the sand.
I can't wait to start that hot club gig in Tokyo. A dream come true. I'll bring along the Vortex, my voice wipe from Primo. I'm off to Tokyo. I'm really pumped for it. Hey, thanks for the car. I'll see you later.